Hey everyone, this is Corey, TradeThatSwing.com, and this is the swing trading watch list for September 12th. We're looking at a couple different types of strategies, contraction and cup and handle patterns, as well as the trend ATR strategy. If you just go to the website, you can see this article, and I'll also put them in the video link as well, or just video description. So market conditions are improving, but as I discussed in that video, there's a couple little question marks I have. So I am trading, but I'm using reduced position size at the moment just to keep my capital exposure a little bit lower. Let's look at the contraction patterns first. This was the scan criteria that I used. It uses based on stockrover.com. That's the scanner I use for these. 166 stocks met the criteria on the US, 23 stocks on the Canadian side. They were manually filtered to down to these. So let's flip through them. TOW. And this one, it's getting nice and compacted in here. I just don't really love this move up to a higher high here. And then we're just kind of drifting. So when we get this type of pattern, it's pretty easy for the price just to keep doing this, to keep drifting up. Or, as we saw, this was a very similar pattern here. We'd have the move up, small pullback, like what we had here, and then we drift up to a new high, pull back, start consolidating. But we can see that one didn't really go anywhere. And other times it will. So we had this one popped up, consolidated, and that one did go. So it's a little bit more of a coin flip on these types of patterns that are angled up. So it more depends on if we start to see some industry strength, maybe you want to trade this one. But for right now, I'm probably more just looking at it and as a sort of proxy for the oil stocks, see how they're doing. Moving on to the US stocks. You can see this one's been stuck for a while. We have this nice little cup and handle pattern coming up to these recent highs. We'll see if we get a move up toward these all-time high, or at least the 52-week highs and possibly above. So we have this drop, a little bit of a smaller drop in there. And then even if we look at this one was smaller than this first one, and waiting for a consolidation there. CLMT, same thing. This one started drifting sideways back in August, but we can see getting really squeezed here since about August 18th. First drop, second drop, moving up, just waiting for a consolidation there. MMYT, this was on last week's list as well, and we've gotten the consolidation now. We had this first drop, we have a second drop, a third little drop in there, and now we've consolidated, and that's pretty much the size of the triangle now if we draw that in there. So a breakout of this current consolidation could be tradable. If you don't really like that, could also wait for a move up, and then maybe we get a consolidation up in this area where I had originally drawn that box. So a couple ways to potentially trade that one. And pretty clean pattern going here. We can see the contraction in first drop, second drop, third drop, and just waiting for a consolidation. MCK, this is on the brief side in the sense that it's less than a month since we reached our peak. So by the end of the week, it'll be a month. And we had one drop here. This drop, I feel this is a bit incomplete. That's a very tiny drop. If we consolidated for a couple more days, maybe I'd consider this one, but it is on the shorter end of the time frame. I usually want these to be a month or so. And so this one's at about 3 weeks, feels a little bit incomplete. But I want to keep it on my watch list just so that, I don't miss it next week or something if it sets up. SRTS. This one more angled down. We can see we're dropping a bit, but this first drop and the second drop is smaller. We've popped up. If we consolidate here, we could get a rally. So watching this one, and almost more of like a wedge type pattern. SRTS, STNG. Scorpio tankers, and moving sideways for quite a while now. We can see it starting to contract from this point forward. First drop, move back up. Second drop is smaller, and now we're hanging out near those highs. So waiting for, we had a potential breakout here because you could, it's not a great consolidation. But, and this stock can be a little bit gappy, as you can see. So we did have this area where it, you know, didn't really make a lot of progress, moved up a little bit, moved down a little bit, tried to move back up. And then we've broken above that, so you could consider that a consolidation. If you don't really like that, you could also wait for another one. On this one, not a lot of volume decline, but there was a pretty nice volume decline on this price bar right there. So that would have been Thursday. So not the most beautiful one, but I want to keep an eye on it. Again, whether we trade them or not, these provide insight into overall market health. If I'm seeing stocks on my watch list, even if I'm not in them, that start to do really well, or that break down, that gives me information about how the market's doing. Started moving sideways in this one back in late July, but you can see starting to contract in a bit here. I think this drop was a little bit bigger. So we had the first drop. This one was a little bit bigger, but then we had another smaller one after this. So moving sideways for quite a while, and then we start to see this contraction more from here onward, from about August 25th onward. So just awaiting a consolidation in there. Lots of potential trend ATR strategy trades. Let's just look at a couple. So these are ones that just recently triggered. So Thursday, entry point right here. As you can see, Friday didn't do much, so still in that entry area. This one has been pretty clean in the sense that it pulls back and then moves higher, pulls back, moves higher. We're in this pullback. Maybe we move higher again. ALO, let's look at one other one. End phase, let's look at that one, because that one's a little bit different. The other ones are all pretty clean. This one I had on my watch list. I was watching it. I did not like how, since I'm waiting for a close and entering near the close, I didn't like how high this was above the line. That was a pretty big candle. So I opted to just sit back and wait. And you can see we've had a pullback. And I actually put my original order out at around 305. So that would have been filled on Friday on this little drop. But I canceled it. And I thought I'll just see how this plays out. Maybe we can, take an entry down around here, because if the price closes below this, we're getting out anyway. So by waiting for a bit of a pullback, saves us a bit of money on that one. And yeah, we'll look at one more here, CPRX. And entry point right there, and you can see we pulled back on Friday right to near that entry point. So even though the entry point occurred a few days back, still hanging out in that area and can still enter at that original, or maybe even a little bit lower if it pulls back. This one, really strong, clean runs. This is our first pullback during this rally. Hasn't been much else to go off of. So overall, pretty strong stock. That's why in that one. And then there's a couple others that are nearing triggers, so we'll just quickly look at a few of those. This one, again, same thing. They all haven't been big monster trades by any means, but after the pullbacks, they've produced some okay profits for us. And this one, interesting, coming out of a pretty big cup and handle here, and then also we have a smaller one here, and possibly some upside for it to run, but we're just trading off the strategy. So if that happens and we happen to catch it, great. If not, the trailing stop loss will get us out. Let's look at ENVX. Just a couple samples in there. And you can see we're just sitting below the trigger point there. I also like this one because it's starting to form a contraction pattern. So this is an alternative entry as well for contraction patterns. We can use the ATR stops. First drop, second drop, and you can see not quite a contraction in the sense that it's almost more like a range, because this first drop was pretty close to the size of the second drop. But either way, if we start moving back up, this would trigger our ATR stops entry. And let's look at one more, BCRX. And you can see, once again, a couple little drops in here and waiting for the price to close above that line. You can see it has been pretty clean in the sense of pullback, move higher, pullback, move higher. And so liking this overall momentum here. Hopefully if we close above here, we can get another push to the upside. This week I'm starting Monday, Wednesday, Friday weekly trading discussions. So you can join in and ask questions, get guidance, talk with some other traders, and also we can go through things that are happening during the week, as opposed to I do the watch lists and the market outlooks once a week. But things can change during the week. Trades happen. You can ask questions about stuff like that. So if you click on this, you'll see it's $1 for a 5-day trial. You can get up to 3 meetings with that for $1, so pretty great deal. And then after that, it's $49 a month, but that's up to 12 meetings a month because we're going 3 times a week. So pretty cheap for at about $4 a meeting. And that will start on September 12th, and subscriptions won't open till September 11th. So if you're looking for a buy or add to cart button, it won't be there until September 11th. And that is it for the swing trading watch list. Have a good week out there. Until next time, happy trading.